Hello, church family. It is Thursday, which means it's time for our regular Thursday update and reflection with Reverend Maggie. And before I bring Reverend Maggie on today, we do have just a couple quick announcements that I'm going to give. Today's actually a really important update because Reverend Maggie is going to be giving us some information moving forward in services. So please stick with us here, and this video will be available for sharing later as well. But before we get into that, please don't forget we have a new Bible study happening at 11. Sorry, I just got lost on my many windows open here. Oh, where'd it go? Here we go. All right. Here it is. All right. Just a reminder, George Baker is leading a Bible study directly after this service, reflection time in our connection. And oh gosh. And I think we will have a link to that available if you still need that. If you click on a link and it's not working, please let us know so we can fix that. But we should have the updated links now. And a reminder that we do have a celebration of life for David's Art scheduled on September 5th. And that will be over a Zoom meeting. And if you need any help setting up Zoom ahead of time, we'd be happy to help you with that. But to attend, you'll need to contact Lynn and let her know so that she can send out the information to everyone so that we can keep it private to everyone we want them to be there and not just open to the public. And that is all of my announcements I have for you today. So I'm going to switch my camera around here and then switch this guy on and bring Reverend Maggie on. Okay, Reverend Maggie, you are no longer muted, so everyone can hear you.
Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Here we go. Go ahead, Reverend Maggie.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad you could join us. This is a really important update today. Lots of information to give to you. But before we get to that information, let's just be in a spirit of openness, opening our hearts to God, the beauty of the day. I chose a Psalms, one of my favorites, Psalm 98, in which all of creation begins to thank God for its existence. Listen as I read it. Shout your praises to God, everybody. Let loose and sing. Strike up the band. Round up an orchestra to play for God. Add on 100-voice choir. Feature trumpets and big trombones. Fill the air with praises to God. Let the sea and its fish give a round of applause, with everything living on earth joining in. Let ocean breakers call out, encore, encore, and mountains harmonize the finale. A tribute to God when God comes. When God comes to set the earth right, he'll straighten out the whole world. He'll put the world right and everyone in it. Isn't that a grand promise? I love those words. I love those words. This morning, as we get ready to pray, there's a couple of praises and some concerns. Let me share those with you. I try to throughout the week as people call or I call them. I always ask you if there's a prayer concern, and these are the ones that have been given to me this week. First of all, our praises. Tina Webb is thanking God that her husband has finally receiving his disability checks now, and they're looking for a brand new apartment. And Tina is assured that her disability applications will soon resolve itself into her receiving checks. So I want to say congratulations and praise the Lord that these two are on their way towards steadying their lives and finding a permanent residence here among us in Carson City. Congratulations, you two. Betty Kennedy came through surgery just fine yesterday, and her husband Chuck has already got her home so that she can rest and heal there. So we are grateful to her care team and the doctors and the surgeons and the nurses, everyone who is involved. And we're praying for you, Betty, that you will recover rapidly. And then I also want to give thanks to God that Rick Cooley has been placed on a heart monitor now for 30 days so that the docs can see what his heart is doing. This is a really important development for Rick. So I'm sure we'll hear soon what they found, but please keep him in your prayers for now. And thank God and say praise the Lord for all that is happening in Rick's life. As we come to our concerns and our prayers, we do want to pray for Tim Newman, who is going to be facing open heart surgery very, very soon, and praying for his family and also Joyce and Wendell Newman. We also want to continue praying for Joey St. Germain, who is Pam Houghton's nephew, who he is healing from COVID. On Tuesday afternoon, Pam and I spoke, and he's feeling just slightly better. And the doctors say he's improving little by little. So please keep the prayers going. An important time. And we also want to lift up all our firefighters in the area, both here in Nevada and in California. They're fighting hard to put out all of these fires, and we want to pray for those who have lost their homes, those who have had to evacuate, and who face yet more uncertainty in their life. Last night, I talked to a friend in Sacramento, and she said it was snowing ash over there. That can't be a good situation to be living in. So our prayers for everyone who's working with people right now as the flames rage. And remember to keep in your prayers this week, Judy Monson, for Valentina Hunter and her family, Tom Johnson, Tobin Volberding, Christine Cooley, Robin Setter-Vadene, Dennis Anderson, Dave Tresher, Don Pate's brother, Sonny, Margot and Helmut Bands, and Shelley Clement. They're all still facing some health issues. So keep them right, picture them right in God's hands. Let us pray together. Gracious God, you sent Jesus Christ, who travels through towns and villages, curing every disease and illness. At his command, the sick were made well. Come to our aid now in the midst of the global spread of coronavirus, that we may experience your healing love. Heal those who are sick today, whether it be the virus or other things. May they regain their strength and health through quality medical care. Heal us from our fears about the economy, about fires, anything that prevents us from working together as neighbors and helping each other. Help us to overcome all of our fears and simply to give ourselves to the well-being of all. Heal us from our pride, which can make us claim invulnerability to a disease that knows no borders. Jesus Christ, healer of all, stay by our side in this time of uncertainty and sorrow. Be with those who have died from the virus. May they be at rest with you in your eternal peace. Be with families of those who are sick and have died. As they worry and grieve, defend them from illness and despair. May they all know your peace. Be with the doctors and nurses and researchers and all of those medical professionals whom we applaud, who only seek to heal and help those who are affected by illness, those who are affected by hunger and disease, and who at times in these processes put themselves at risk. May they know your protection and peace. And be with the leaders of all our nations, Give them the foresight to act with charity and true concern for the well-being of the people they are meant to serve. Give them the wisdom to invest in long-term solutions that will help us prepare for or even prevent future outbreaks of other viruses. May they know your peace as they work together to achieve it on earth. Whether we are home or abroad, surrounded by many people, suffering from this illness or watching others suffer, or only a few, Jesus Christ, stay with us as we endure and mourn, persist and prepare. In place of our anxiety, instead, give us your everlasting peace. Heal us. We pray through the grace of Jesus Christ. Amen. So our next piece of business here is to talk about what's happening. I want to give you an update today regarding where our church is with regards to re-entering the sanctuary for big group activities, small groups, and of course, worship. Our plans have been completely approved by the district superintendent, but please remember they are still contingent on Nevada state guidelines and protocols, as well as CDC and our own annual conference protocols. If those change at any time, then I have to be the one to change what happens here. And at any time, if the state imposes more limitations upon us, I will have to act accordingly to perhaps even close the church once more. So all plans at this point should be considered tentative as we drive forward. Now, this morning, if at any time you have a question, use the chat line to ask Jess. She's going to have a copy of everything that I'm saying this morning, so she knows if I'm going to answer your question anyway, and she won't interrupt me if I do it. After each section, I'll ask if there are any questions, and then I'll move on to the next section. So I'm going to start first with large group activities, then move to small group activities, then in-person worship, and finally, how to register for worship. So let's start with those big group activities. You may remember that we are still under phase 2 in the state, which means any room in our church can only have 50% of its people occupying that room at this time, of the capacity that room is set for. There has to be room for 6 feet of social distancing between people. We are still not allowed to have large group activities within our church. So this means presently that we cannot have dinners, fellowship activities, of course, Vacation Bible School, until we move to different phases. So for now, no big group activities be allowed unless you can prove to us that you know how to care for people. Now, when we get to phase 3, big group activities will be decided upon a case-by-case basis. From what I understand from the state, as soon as we move into phase 3, we will be able to enact some large group activities, not all. So for now, no large group activities. When we move to phase 3, on a case-by-case basis, depending on how the state restructures this, we might be able to do some. So are there any questions? If you have any, please write to Jess in the chat room, okay? Jess, are there any questions around this?
No, Reverend Maggie, I'm not seeing any questions right now.
Okay, let me go to the next section. And if there are, we'll come back to large group activities. Okay, let's talk small groups now. We are going to open up for small groups to meet in the Wesley room and downstairs for meetings beginning September 1st. We're not going to open up the Jordan room as it doesn't give enough social distance space. Now, while we're very happy to have you meet in our buildings, there are some rules that people will be expected to follow. There are state required restrictions that we have to follow. So number one, we have to know how to clean the rooms after ourselves. Someone from your group, if you're considering holding a meeting in one of those two places in our church in September, someone from your group must attend a required cleaning and sanitizing meeting. And that the first one's going to happen Wednesday, August 26th at 4 p.m. in the Wesley room. That's this coming Wednesday. Or you can wait the week before we open worship for a second training to happen. It'll be the same training, but if you miss this one on Wednesday, you can come to that one later in September. You have to attend this meeting before you meet. This training will explain your group's regular responsibility for cleaning and sanitizing your part in the room. The church has its part in the cleaning and sanitizing process, but each small group will have to handle cleaning and sanitizing some other things on a regular basis. Chairs must be set 6 feet apart at all times. So we're going to set up those rooms where those chairs can be. And we ask that if you do move them, that you set them back up approximately 6 feet between each other. Remember, groups can only have 50% of the capacity the room requires in the space where you meet. So if the room only can hold 50 people, only 25 people can be invited. Masks have to be worn throughout the entire meeting, and that means keeping them above your nose, over your nose, and over your mouth for the entire time. You may want to think about bringing extras for others who forget, or you will have to send them home. If someone is sick or becomes sick, you must ask them to go home or help them to get home. Call Pam in the office to set up any of your meeting dates. She'll check the calendar, and you need to connect with her about when you want to meet. Now, if you don't comply with any of these rules, it may mean that your group will not be allowed to meet in the building. I can't stress enough how serious we have to take these rules for now. So, are there any questions about meeting in small groups? Jess, are there any questions I need to answer at this time?
Nope, looks like you're good.
Okay. All right. Then let me continue to the next part. So now let's talk about in-person worship as opposed to online worship. We're almost ready to open only one in-person worship service. And we've scheduled a tentative date as September 27th. This will give our church the time to look at what's happening when schools open next week and whether, as the Carson City community, we can handle this challenge of keeping any COVID surges down. 10:30 a.m. will be the time for this first in-person service, okay? Online worship will move back to 9 a.m. on September 27th. Why? Because there is more cleanup after an in-person service than there is an online one. So we're moving the times around to accommodate time for the ushers in the second service to do their cleaning, which will take a little longer than a half an hour. The two tasks remaining that have to be completed before we open are these. One task is finding another 3 ushers for the in-person service, which will have a total of 6. So if you wish to volunteer, please call me or Pam in the office or leave me a message there and I'll call you back. There will be a training involved because the job description of an usher looks differently now since COVID. The second task we need to complete is to mark off on the sidewalks in front of the Musser and Division Street doors every 6 feet so that as you arrive, you'll know where you need to stand. We're finishing those up hopefully this week. So just like the small groups, we have some rules we have to follow that come from the conference and Nevada state protocols. Remember, I'm under the authority of the bishop, so I have to follow them to the best of my ability to do so. When you arrive for worship, you can enter either door, the Musser Street door or the Division Street door. However, we're going to keep the door to the dumpster in that little alleyway off the breezeway locked. Line up on the markers for social distancing. Wait until an usher will greet you. So don't just walk into the church unaccompanied. You must wait for an usher to seat you. An usher will greet you, but don't shake hands. You can nod your heads to each other and give verbal greetings. Again, we're trying to keep the touching non-existent. Ushers will take your temperature with our special temperature. I don't know what you call them. They look like guns to me, but anyway, it must be below the required 100.4 degrees in order to be allowed to enter into the sanctuary. If you do end up with the temperature, we'll simply escort you to the Jordan room until everyone is in the sanctuary and then release you so that you can go home. Bring a mask to wear at all times during worship. And again, you must wear it over both your mouth and your nose at all times. Please don't put the ushers in the place of having to come over and to remind you to do this. Now, if you cannot breathe through a mask right now, then I'm suggesting that you stay home a bit longer, because since we're first opening, we really need to see what works and what doesn't. You can celebrate us with online worship a little bit longer. So we'll tell you when it's okay for you to come and not wear a mask. An usher will escort you to your pew when you arrive. Please don't fight with the usher, as they have to seat people in a manner so that social distancing between non-family units is kept. Now, a family unit is anyone with whom you've been sheltering and you trust that they will not give you the virus. So friends might be among them, but you'll need to arrive together so that the usher knows to seat you together. So you can gather outside or in the breezeway to wait for your company to come and come in together. People are going to sit in every other pew at opposite ends of that pew, depending on family size. Again, at the end of worship, you will have to be released to leave by an usher. So just remain seated until that usher comes to tell you that you can leave. They're trying to space people out so we don't get crowded with one another. Again, the ushers are simply trying to keep you safe. Restrooms are open on that floor in the breezeway and also by the worship door. And please notice that we have new touchless faucets and soap dispensers in place in every bathroom. So please try not to touch them. Just place your hands underneath and wait for the flow to occur. It will happen. Okay, so now let's talk about what happens during worship. You know that protocols from the conference were tested in some churches, and this is what will happen when you come to experience in-person worship right now. You must wear a mask over your mouth and nose the entire time in worship. Again, we ask you, if you cannot do this because of breathing issues, please stay home a little longer and join online worship for now. Remember, there will be nothing to hold, no bulletins, no prayer cards, no praises and concern cards, no hymnals. Everything you need will be on the screen. There's also no hugs, no handshakes, no touching of any kind, no passing of the peace. Well, that might not quite be true. I have a way of doing passing the peace that lets us remain in place while turning around and acknowledging others without touching them. I'll teach it to you when you come. There won't be any offering plates either. If you do forget and bring an offering, there will be a box on the table in the Aldersgate room where you can leave it. It says pledge cards, but you can also leave your offering in there. We'll check it before we worship that day. But it's much better to send in your offering or bring it to the office right now. That way it doesn't exchange as many hands. Remember, anything we touch, the ushers have to sanitize afterwards. So please limit touching as much as possible. When you come to worship, there won't be any live music because singing sends out our spicules, or a fancy word for the word spit, twice to 3 times as far as speaking does. So all music has to be recorded. Now, the band is experimenting right now with playing in the Wesley room during worship and using a camera to bring sound to us. But we've only just started working on that project. So we may be working out bugs for that first month in September. We're trying. We're working hard at this. We'll keep you posted. The choir probably will not be back in worship until there's a safe vaccine. That's what they've said to me. So we'll still be showing, if we can, we're trying to work it out that we can show the videos of our musicians in worship from time to time. I understand that takes a bit of daring do as well. So we're practicing that to see if we can do that. Sadly, none of us can sing during this in-person worship either. I'm going to miss that personally. I love to sing, but we can listen to music, we can hum, we can clap, we can stomp our feet, we can even stand and sway to it if we'd like. We can't even do a call to worship together. So there's going to be some changes we have to tolerate. Basically, when you come to worship, you will be invited to sit and be attentive. For prayers, I'll still need you to text me or leave a message the day before so I can lift up any of your prayers and concerns, okay? That's important to all of us. I can't encourage you to speak at worship, and you can't leave a note at the pulpit either. And so since we have online service first, I can always announce those at the in-person worship so that we stay connected to each other. So remember just to call or text me. You can leave a message on the church phone for me on my extension. I will get those Sunday mornings so that I can announce those. There will not be a nursery either. If you bring children, you're expected to take care of them. Please know that we will still be able to do the sacraments of baptism and communion. In fact, I believe we will have a baptism of an infant on that very first Sunday. Communion will still be the first of every month. I've tried to describe what in-person worship will feel like for a while until a vaccine is here and enough people have taken it. Worship will not be what it was when we were in the sanctuary last March. In fact, our own bishop suggests it will feel more like a meditative service. There will be meaningful music. There will be a witness to the word. There will be videos, hopefully, of our members answering questions. And there will be the power of the Holy Spirit working through us at all times. We must lean on God now, even as worship changes. Remember, God does not. God will be there. And Jesus told us that wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, there he is in our midst. I have no doubt that there will still be an opportunity to sense the presence of God and to feel God with us as we worship in any way that we can. Jess, are there any questions? I'll stop here just to see if there are.
Yeah, Maggie. Oh,
okay.
I'm going to have a little bit of echo. I don't think I can do anything about it. Let's see. No, there's not anything I can do about it.
Okay.
So,
all right.
The first question, going back to the small groups, Lisbeth was just wondering if the small group leaders will be in contact with their members of whether they're going to be meeting in person or meeting in another capacity. So, I'm guessing that's probably going to be up to small groups to kind of organize themselves.
Yes. You will need to contact your own group members, or you could announce it here that you're gathering them. But if you do that, just remember, I need one person to come to the cleaning and sanitizing meeting so that you understand what you need to do following the end of your meetings.
Okay. And then both Tom and Lisbeth had questions about the capacity of service and the overflow issue that there might be and registering. And I know you're going to get into that later. So I just wanted to kind of let them know that question will be answered a little later. But then Tom asked, and I think maybe getting into the way the two services are going to be different, why not just post the in-person service online? So why will we not be just live streaming what we're doing at the in-person service for our online service?
Do you want to handle that question, Jess? Because technologically, that one's yours.
Yeah, so I mean, it's that one, Tom and everyone listening, has less to do with the technology and more to do with what we can and can't do in person. And, you know, we have somewhere between 170 and 200 individual devices tuning into our live stream services each week. So and we figure about 1 to 2 people at each of those. So we have a weekly attendance of, you know, a few hundred people each week. And that's including a service where we're singing together, we're praying out loud together, and we're doing some of the things that we just won't be able to do in the in-person service. And we know a lot of people are really getting a lot out of that format. And so we'd like to be able to still offer that format in the online service while we can't offer it in the in-person service. So our online service will continue to have hymns to sing with if you like to sing along at home, or at least to have available, and more congregational prayers and things that we call and respond and do together as a community, even though we're remote, that will not be able to be incorporated in that live service. So we want to make that still be available for everyone who's been joining us virtually. Does that answer that question, I think, Maggie?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. And then Lisbeth was asking, she said, what about just volunteering to help clean?
You mean as after worship or at any time?
Lisbeth, we have a little bit of a delay, so it'll be a delay here where here's my clarification question. But Lisbeth, are you asking about volunteering to help clean for more services or after service? Is that what you're thinking there?
So let me explain while she's answering, and Jess, let me just say one thing. Since we don't always know, well, we will know, but if so many groups want to meet at the church and there's only a half hour in between groups, we cannot get a janitor in there to clean. So we're asking small groups to clean the tops of their chairs, a table in front of them, the high touch areas like the door handle on both sides, the light switch, to clean those with sanitation so that we can at least have part of each group will take that on as that's their mess. Then three times a week, all of the rooms will be cleaned thoroughly by the janitor to take the rest of whatever's out of there. But we need you all to clean up after yourselves in that way. And there will be trash cans out in the hallway so that as you leave a room, take a wipe with you, wipe down the door handle to enter, and then just drop it in the trash can outside the room. And that way it's clean for the next people to enjoy that room.
Gotcha. Yeah. So
did Lisbeth write back?
She said, anytime, and there's many older people older than Lisbeth, so helping out with things like that. I would think that if you're interested in volunteering to help clean, just let Pam know so that we can kind of have a roster of people available for
that would be great.
It's needed.
It's mostly needed after we meet in any part. When online worship, before we leave, we wipe down the table, we wipe down the light switches, we wipe down whatever we can find that we've touched, we wipe it down before we leave. So it's ready for the next group who comes in. And so if each group does that, then they're preparing for the next group to enter in a way that it's been more sanitized than it was when the last group left.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
I think so. I think maybe just clarifying that we're not talking about heavy deep cleaning. We're talking about grabbing some bleach wipes and wiping down stuff that you were touching. So I think that probably addresses her question. She's like, okay.
That's what you'll find out when you come to the cleaning and sanitizing training. All right.
All right.
And anybody's welcome to come to that. We just need to know you're coming. So make sure you call the office beforehand so we have enough room for everybody, because we're also inviting our AA groups representation from there too.
Right. Okay,
so finally, let's talk about how do I register for worship? Now, despite our congregational survey, it's still not possible for any of us at the office to know exactly who's thinking what about returning to in-person worship. You have to determine if you're safe and you're ready. So it's self-selection at this point. And I'm going to ask you to please don't make fun of anyone who chooses not to return immediately. We don't know each other's particular circumstances or health concerns, and there may be some very good reasons for a delay in coming back. And I don't want to fight over how to handle the coronavirus like we seem to be doing in the community. I don't want that to be an issue in our church. So leave the arguing at home and come with an open heart to feel the love of God for each and every one of us, no matter what we believe. To me, that's one of the most important things we can do here. So to register for in-person worship, we've simply decided to let you call the office to sign up for coming to worship. So each Monday, you can begin calling to reserve your own place or place for your family once the office is open at 9 a.m. Think Ticketmaster, all right? There's a time to open reservations. We think we can seat between 30 to 40 people each Sunday, depending on the makeup of how many single people and how many family units, okay? If we go over our capacity, your name will automatically be at the top of the list for the following week's worship. And we will call you and ask you and tell you, first of all, we've run over on reservations. Can we put you on for the following Sunday? You may leave an after-hours message to reserve a place in worship on Monday nights, Tuesday nights, and Wednesday nights to register. But Thursday is by noon, we have to have all the reservations in, because that's when we start calling you back to confirm your presence at the following Sunday's worship. If you have left us a phone number to call, if you don't leave a number and we don't have it in the directory, we cannot confirm you. So if you don't have a confirmation by Thursday afternoon, around 5, by the close of the workday around 5, you cannot come to worship. So please check your phones. Calling on Fridays is too late because we've already finished it on Thursday afternoon. And please, we ask, do not call Sunday night to get a jump on everybody else. And don't leave a message to reserve a place. We're not even going to check that answering machine until Monday afternoon. And we won't count those that called ahead of time. So remember, reservations start each Monday for the following Sunday. So when the office opens, you can call or leave a message. I'm hoping to make this as fair a process as we possibly can for everyone. Ushers will have the names on a list for Sunday morning, so please don't try to crash the worship service either. Remember, we're dealing with very few places, and we have to be able to balance where we can seat people and know how much space we have to leave between others. So it'll be an art form, and hopefully we will learn that quickly. New people, if they arrive without a reservation, we will tell them they can't come in this day, but we will put their name on the following Sunday if they'd like to come, and give them the information about how to sign up. Unless someone out there has a better idea, and it can't be computers because not everyone has one, you can let me know that between now and the end of next week. All right. Are there any questions about that part? You got questions, Jess?
One sec. Let me unmute you. No, Maggie. Looks like we're good there. Just I think you clarified why we're not going with an online registration, so we don't have to compete with online registers and people who don't have a computer who are calling and getting those crossed. And Lisbeth just reminded us that we should remind everyone that that online service will still always be available. And for anyone not able to get online, not comfortable or in person, or not comfortable in person, that online service will just be henceforth available.
The online service is never going to be canceled, at least not while I'm here, because beyond coronavirus, we have some of our members who cannot make it to worship under the best of times, and they are loving being a part of us and seeing what happens here. And so I don't have any plans to cancel that worship service ever. It may be folded into one of the worship services when we finally go back and worship all together. But we've got a time to worry about that later. It's on our to-do list to figure all that out. So Jess plans to leave this video up for a while on our website. So if you meet anyone this week, you can tell them to check it, to watch it. We will have a written instructions. This is all written out, and it will go into the newsletter so that people will have it. And we will send it to the people that we know who don't have computers, so they know what's going on. And I'll continue to keep you posted through updates, worship, the Hour Connection weekly newsletter. So never hesitate to look there. If you have any questions, any others, just put them in the chat line, and I'll get back to you with those on Monday. I can answer those on Sunday. So let me give you a short review. On September 1st, small groups can sign up with Pam to begin meeting in either the Wesley room or the downstairs room. On September 27th, the last Sunday of September, online worship will move to 9 a.m. and in-person worship for the 20 to 30 people who sign up will begin at 10:30 a.m. And finally, just one note. We live in uncertain times. All of this, the best of plans, can change in a heartbeat within a month's time. So keep your eyes and ears open to that possibility. I cannot know what the governor will do. Carson City area barely escaped having more limitations placed on it last week. We're no longer in that red zone, but we could be by the 27th. So this may all go to hell in a handbasket by then. I have no idea. So check the newsletter, worship announcements, the Thursday updates, and the church's website. And that's where we'll keep you all informed about what we know and if anything changes. So I realize that was a lot to cover with you today. I thank all of you for your patience and your questions and your good wishes. And thank you for being so attentive. We can make this work, and I'm hopeful that we can. So I wish you a very good day, and may God bless each and every one of you as we get ready to take these very important steps together. Be well, stay safe. God bless you. Bye-bye.